What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jack Ramsays pregame show. The Portland Trail Blazers take on the Sacramento Kings in the first part of a 3-game road trip. This is the one game that you're looking at if you're a Blazers fan going, good time to get a win because you have the Golden State Warriors and the Utah Jazz on the back end. Two teams that I think are probably very firmly cemented into the top 5 of the NBA right now. Joined as always by the illustrious, the lovely, the fabulous Brandon Sprague. Brandon Sprague, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, man. Happy Thanksgiving Eve.
Hey, are we throwing Eves on Thanksgiving now? Like, I know we do Christmas Eve. I don't think we do any other Eves, do we?
New Year's Eve.
Oh, that's right. I always forget that one. I'm not a New Year's
July
guy.
4th Eve, my birthday Eve.
That's better than my wife. My wife does a birthday month.
Well, I think a lot of wives out there have a birthday month, and they deserve it, by the way.
They do. They're wonderful. They're married to us.
My uncle once said, and my great-grandma's, he said, every holiday should have an Eve because then it makes you feel better about how much you drink.
That's fair.
So this is considered by many, and if you talk to bar patrons, this is actually the busiest night of their calendar year. It's crazy that...
Really? It's not New Year's Eve?
I mean, New Year's Eve, look, it depends where you're at, right? But if you talk to a lot of people that have bars in different spots, they will tell you that this is the night because everybody's getting loaded, because tomorrow's a sleep-in, meander about with football on, make a meal and eat it at like
it's true. There is nothing else there.
And my co-host on the radio says it's the greatest drinking night of the year. So I figure let's just add an Eve to it and make everybody feel better about their booze.
That's fair. Min Mom says it feels like an Eve because there's people freaking everywhere. Yeah, Sprague and I have both had to deal with traffic today. He had it tonight. I had it earlier today. Let me go ahead and tell you, when you're dealing with hip issues, it's really fun to get stuck in your car.
Yeah, do you still get excited about eves of holidays, or now that
I don't
you're
get excited
an 80-year-old man?
No, I don't get excited about holidays. Like, number one, okay, I think I've kind of gone over this before. I am not anti-holiday by any means, but I'm also kind of dead to them in the sense of, like, I spent 5 years overseas, and I did not have my birthday's in October, and I spent my birthday, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas gone every year for 5 years. And so, like, the big holidays, I was literally on the other side of the planet. And those are my formative years, 18 to 23. Like, you know, as far as, like, going out on your own and, like, setting the parameters for celebrating.
Right.
My celebrations became, I'm back in the country. That was celebration time.
I got through this.
Yes, 100%. It was 100% that. Like, I got home, and I would get 2 weeks off, and it would be 2 weeks worth of holidays. That's what that turned into.
Right.
So,
right. That's an interesting perspective. Not to derail the. I know everybody's in here to hear about.
Everybody wants to talk about the Kings game.
Kings are amazing. Although one of their 6 wins is against Portland. I would think. See this. Maybe I'm putting my personality in this. I would think being overseas for 5 years, even though you come back, I think I'd maybe enjoy it more post.
Some people do.
Going overseas. Yeah.
I think part of it for me was because those experiences were just gone, I just took them and I put them in a deep, dark place that we don't talk about.
I mean, sometimes you have to do that to be in a situation like you were in where it's like, hey, we need you to go over there and be ready for anything. And you're like, okay, Santa Claus is going to go away for a few years.
Listen, so cool, but also twisted story. In 2003, this is when I got hurt the first time. For Christmas, we had a big morale tent, right? It's just like a giant, like, pop-up, like, eggshell kind of tent thing, right? And we played bingo, and we had good prizes, like $300 gift cards for the BX type stuff. Like, I actually won the grand prize, which in 2003 was an Xbox.
Oh, which was a hot. I mean, that's a hot item.
That's a nice find.
Yeah.
So we used to play Halo in the tents. Like, I'd steal a projector from the Intel office and set it up inside the tent and project it inside the tent, and we'd have tournaments at night, right?
For sure.
The next day is when I actually destroyed my leg. So, but here's the good part of this. You know what I had at home to rehab? I had an Xbox. And when I got home from Germany and I got back to the States and I started my rehab, that next day, Halo 2 came out. And I got very, 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 very good at Halo 2.
Well, you're rehabbing. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You have a reason to be a pro Halo player.
I had a leg that was destroyed. It was toothpicks, and it worked very, very well to lead right into my strong video game adult life that you have neglected, Mr. Sprague. But you blamed on the joysticks.
Man.
But
we can't all be as talented as you. And by the way, we had somebody randomly tweet us a few days back. I think they heard the pod later, and they tweeted me and basically said, "Joysticks have been on controllers since the Atari."
That's Jeff Kramer, by the way. That's Hoop Storyteller. He's a NBA, CBA old head who's very, 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 very good with that stuff. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but what I was gonna say is then, did he miss the part where we were talking about how I was used to the normal Nintendo?
He still wanted to call you washed.
Okay, that's fine.
He's older. He's a little bit older than both of us, but he was still throwing you under the bus, which
that's totally. And I can take that. I'm okay with it. I just wanted to bring that back up because you had brought up the joystick factor.
Yes, it was still great. He's still got a point, but there is the dual joystick is what I think. That's where we lost you, Mr. Sprague. Andy Marchand asks, been playing any Halo Infinite? Absolutely. I'm going to set up, or I'm in the process of setting up a Discord channel here for this, for Jacked Ramsays that will feature the. There'll be a couple different tiers. We'll talk about basketball. We'll have a members-only group, and I'll have a gaming group because I do still play a lot of games, and I will invite you guys to come in. I'll do some live streams and stuff like that. So that'll be something that as far as like growing the community outside of basketball is something we'll focus on too. Over the next couple of weeks. But getting back to the basketball part of things, first of all, welcome all of you here for the first time, the millionth time, whatever it is. Thank you all so very much. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, both here on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. The podcast itself keeps growing, and I listen, appreciate all y'all. I back when I was doing the Blazers Edge podcast, I used to run into people at games all the time, and they would hear me talking, and I don't know if you get this on the radio, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I heard your voice," from, and I knew it was you. Is that not the weirdest thing?
Yeah, like, and I don't mean this like disrespectfully. Sometimes it creeps me out, but
yes.
I get it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh.
Before this, like okay. People hadn't seen me before I did the pre and post game show, so it was always one of those things like, you look way different than you sound. And yes, I know my voice is very high for a very large man.
Well, everybody kind of has that though, right? Where it's like, I've had somebody tell me my voice should be somebody else and their voice should be like with what I look like. And yeah, there's that whole thing too.
That's a weird thing.
The listeners can have this. Like if you have high engagement from specific people, you get to know either phone numbers or user handles.
Sure.
And they're over and over, but you don't see a picture. I've had this before where I've met radio listeners who text in all the time and then I meet them.
You're like,
and I have the same feel. I'm like, you don't look. That's like, not what I thought you would look.
The projection was not match what was going on here.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of the projection not matching what's getting involved, the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, that's right. There's a basketball game tonight.
There is a basketball game tonight, but they're a team which they've got some fun. They've got some nice parts. They've got De'Aaron Fox. They've got Tyrese Halliburton. They've got Harrison Barnes, who had a career high against the Portland Trailblazers in the first game of the season, hit 8 threes, absolutely dismantled them. But this is a Kings team who, well, ladies and gentlemen, they just fired their head coach. I'm going to be honest. That was a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't openly campaign for coaches to lose their job.
We're a Walton fan, huh?
No.
It's weird. He left Golden State. He had so much success there. I can't believe it didn't translate to the Sacramento Kings.
It's almost like personnel matters more.
It's almost like having Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green can make every slappy on the sidelines look like a great coach.
Yeah. Jeremy Crackle in the comments says, "Man, Kevin O'Connor ripped Sack so hard it was so hilarious." Yeah, for anybody who didn't see the tweet, Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer absolutely destroyed them. A Kings fan was basically like, "Hey, come on, man, it was only one game," and then he posted their last 17 years, and he said, "Sure, one game." It has been 17 years since they have won 40 or more games.
What year did they last make the postseason? 06, right?
2004 or 5.
04, 05? The year I graduated high school? Wow. Bro, that is pitiful.
It's just, yeah, it's...
You're almost you're basically the Seattle Mariners of the NBA.
I think that's kind of a backhand at the Mariners because at least the Mariners have had some games or some seasons where they've won games. Like the Kings haven't even won games.
But they've been in the playoffs more recently. The Mariners haven't been in the playoffs since 2001.
Oh, that's right.
They have the longest drought in pro sports.
That's right.
Right now.
I forgot they've had a couple like massive win seasons, but the AL West went kind of bonkers.
Well, by massive, you mean like 5 games over 500? Sure, they've had those years.
I always forget with Major League Baseball, you get the 160 plus. So like you look at 80, you look at 90 wins. You're like, that's a good year.
You're right. If you can get to 90, you're usually good. The Braves, for example, won the championship. They won 88 this year. So most cases, you're right, but they're in a tough division most of the time, and they've also just been hot garbage. But the Sacramento Kings
divisions don't matter in the NBA anymore. The Kings are a disaster.
And you know what's weird? And I know we're going to get into this a little bit. I went through their roster last night and a little this morning, and it kind of blows my mind that this team is this bad.
Because they've got players.
I mean, Fox, Halliburton, Heald,
Barnes,
Holmes, Mitchell,
Bagley, if it ever
Bagley when he's healthy, whatever, like he's fine.
But they're not the Thunder.
No,
like they're not the Rockets.
Not the Thunder. So how do you explain this?
Top to bottom. So I've got a lot of friends who cover the Kings. James Ham, who covered them for NBC Sports for years.
That poor guy.
Great dude. We had him on the pre and post game on NBC all the time.
Yeah.
I've talked to him about this team a ton. Greg Wessinger, who's the managing editor for Kings Herald, which is the spinoff from the SB Nation site, from that whole California law debacle when it comes to handling blogs. But looking and talking to those guys, they've all kind of said the same thing. Vivek is a great owner for everything outside of the basketball stuff. He's a little too hands-on, but they also just haven't set the culture. They haven't gotten things right. Whether you're talking about Luke Walton as a coach or Luke Walton the off-the-court stuff, which a lot of people kind of threw off to the side. If you want to go search it, Google it, go for it. It's cringy as hell. It's not fun. But it's just a lot of crappiness just kind of permeates that organization, and they just haven't done like a no BS clearing of house. And that's what needs to happen. And there needs to be less cooks in the kitchen. That's kind of what it comes down to. I don't know if Gentry is the right coach here. I don't know if a retread coach is the right way to go here.
To me, I thought that was an unusual move, right? Because he's the interim, and then didn't Woj basically say that they want to just give him the job?
Eventually, yeah.
So here's my only thought on that. Gentry, retread is a proper term, but he's been good, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not great. He's not the worst. He's deserving of a job. He's one of those guys.
I don't know if he's the guy you give a young team to.
Well, but here's the thing, though. He may not be the long-term solution. I'm not sitting here telling you Alvin Gentry is going to revitalize the Sacramento Kings. But sometimes what you need the firm adults in the room to maybe steer the attention or the direction back in the right place. Mm-hmm. So he can kind of be the stepping stone, so to speak, for this team. Like maybe he gets them to play better. This team should be substantially better than 6-12. So maybe he can get them record close to 500. And that's kind of what they become, right? Just a little below. And at that point, you go find the right coach. Maybe that's what this is viewed as a stepping stone to see, can I reach De'Aaron Fox? Can I get Tyrese Halliburton to play better? Barnes, Heald, like, you've got the talent. Can you get these guys to buy in and start playing for one another?
Yeah, and I think that's a genuine question of like as far as like the buy-in part of things, and it's hard for me to go that far without being entirely plugged into who, what, when, where, why kind of a situation where you're just like, oh, well, let's see what's kind of going on. But you start looking at this team, and offensively, well, we'll start with Gentry. What he said. Did you catch what he said in this post game the other night?
No.
He's going to bench basically anybody who doesn't give him effort, which that's certainly a way to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Ocasio has got a great point here. I've seen a lot of people ask about why they didn't fire Luke Walton in the offseason. This is something that I've tended to believe too. An offseason firing is much less effective at deflecting attention for other issues like ownership delusions, mismanagement, roster construction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
I hate this. This is one of my pet peeves in sports. They do this in college football. They do this in the NFL. They do this in the NBA, and they do it most prominently in hockey. And you could throw baseball into. It's in college football. It's the AD sending out a statement. The coach will be back next year, which to me is like,
No,
if
they're
he's
not.
like 1-3, he's gonna get fired.
Yeah.
The NBA does this. They fire coaches 6-7 games in. Hockey does this 3 games in.
So dumb.
It's so dumb because all you're just hurting your team. You're hurting your season. Like, you need to sometimes address it, own it, and move on from it. And if that reflects poorly on the owner, the general manager, like, you almost have to have an ego, and then you have to be willing to be humbled at the same time.
Yes.
And there's too many egos that aren't willing to be humbled. The Kings feel like a shining example of that.
Speaking of awful things to talk about, Anthony Simons is out tonight.
What's
He's
the
sick.
thing? Oh,
He's non-COVID. Relax, guys. Non-COVID.
no, that's going around. My whole family. I had it for like a day, and it wasn't bad. It was
It's
like a sniffle.
It's a chest thing. So
okay.
upper respiratory is what they're calling it. So,
Well, that doesn't help the non-COVID thing.
yeah. So,
No,
but
that
he's kind of what it is. Which is a bummer because I was really looking forward to it because the Kings is one of those teams he plays well against, and he played really well last night.
Yeah.
But this Kings team, when you look at them, they should be a lot better than they are. But I think there's maybe an idea of what they are versus what they actually are. Rashawn Holmes, very good player.
Mm-hmm.
But his usage probably isn't up high enough to really matter. Harrison Barnes is playing very well over the last couple games, he's actually turned down his three-point volume a ton. Buddy Hield continues to kind of be one of the best three-point shooters of all time that nobody talks about. I think he's like 13th all-time now. He's going to end up probably as a top 5 guy of all time in made threes when it's all said and done, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's been that good for his career.
Mm-hmm.
But you start looking up and down their effective field goal percentage list. So you've got Holmes, Barnes, Hield, Len, Halliburton. They're all in the 50th percentile or higher. Holmes is the 96th. He's got almost a 70% effective field goal percentage. Otherworldly. But De'Aaron Fox is 24th percentile. Davion Mitchell is in the 14th percentile. Terrence Davis, who's only played a game, but he's only started a game, but he's in the first percentile. They've had some guys that just can't shoot, and you look at their rim effectiveness. Fox, the only thing is his rim and short mid, long mid. Those are the areas where he's getting his frequency, but you look at his accuracy, and you're like, wait, what the hell? De'Aaron Fox is in the 54th percentile, so he's going to the rim a ton, but he's an average finisher there. So he's not knocking down shots. He's horrid from the mid-range. He's been awful from 3. So the idea of De'Aaron Fox is not matching the production of De'Aaron Fox. And this is where, if you want to get crazy, and I really like Fox, if Fox plus one of the other guys, Fox and Hield, whatever, is on the table for Simmons and one of the other guys, Simmons and Matisse, something like that.
If you're Philly, you're throwing Matisse in that?
You got to throw something in that.
I know you'd have to, but is Matisse the guy you want?
I think you'd rather give it Matisse than you would Maxey.
Man, I know that's a tough call because you can clearly see what Maxey is, but we know what Matisse can be defensively.
So, but I think it's harder to find the shot creator than it is the rangy wing who can be good for you defensively.
This is going to be a little bit of a tin hat kind of question. De'Aaron Fox adding on like 15 pounds. That can happen from time to time with, some coaches believe that some guys, when they add weight and muscle,
play better, stronger, and bigger.
Yeah, and some people played better at their natural weight, fit, everything. And Fox has been a problem for a lot of teams, but you just talked about the idea of him versus what his stats are saying. You can see him on the court. You can tell he's bigger. I'm wondering if there's like an adjustment to him playing with different weight.
Listen, we have a direct line to draw on that. Dame tried playing lighter. It did not work for him. He was getting his ass kicked. Anthony Simons, I've talked to Ant about this. He has tried to put on weight. He got close to 200 pounds. It didn't make it onto injury reports, but he dealt with a hamstring all of last year for a long portion of the year as he was playing bigger. He just couldn't it wasn't good for him. He got down, plays at 190. It's a better spot for him to like. Once you get to that, like, I understand my game, and then you get your grown man body, it's about understanding wear and tear, effectiveness, first step, explosion, the strength and the mass necessary. I do wonder when you see a guy undergo a real dynamic change. LeBron James was 300 bleeping pounds in Miami. The difference, go look at Miami LeBron versus early Cleveland LeBron. It is terrifying transformation. Now go look at him now. He's nowhere near that big. And at different moments in your career, because LeBron played in the post a ton in Miami. He put on that weight to deal with the punishment of playing down low more. And I think that's something you take a look at with how guys kind of develop. And if you're Sacramento, as far as this is concerned, if I told you had Ben Simmons, insert Maxey or Tybal, Halliburton, Mitchell, Holmes, Barnes, like, you can, if you squint, you can see a pretty good team, right? Like, as far as a framework.
Am I getting Simmons to buy into playing Sacramento on that team with that record?
I'm hoping.
And I think that's the answer to your question, right? It's not what I
think.
But
that's the risk. About. If you're Sacramento, you're never getting that player outside of that trade. It's the same for Portland. You're never getting that kind of a player outside of a trade. You're not getting that player in free agency. It's never happening.
I think isn't that the tough part for a team like Sacramento, though, is identifying who they want or need to trade?
Yeah.
I mean, we could say De'Aaron Fox because that's the value, but
they've got Fox, they've got Hallie, they've got Mitchell, they've got Heald, they've got a lot of guys that, like, you could buy into, you could get invested in, but what does it mean going forward?
Would they have basically gotten what the Wizards got for the Russ trade, because that was the rumor before Russ got there was Heald was the guy?
Yes. Yeah. So it was going to be Heald and Bagley. Heald and Bagley, so which is like $38 million, I believe. I think Buddy's at like 25 and Bagley's option year is like 12.8, something like that.
Yeah.
So it would have been Kuz, KCP, and who am I forgetting in that? Kuz, KCP, and somebody else. Because Kuz is 13, KCP was like 12, and they needed to make up like another like 8 or 9 million. Whoever else that was in that deal, I can't remember. But yes,
I'm blanking on who that third player was.
But you got to remember, like I said, because Bagley was that number 2 pick, his option year was really, really high, and Buddy is like a $25 million a year guy, or 22, I think. But I'm going off the numbers off the top of my head. I don't, lock it in entirely, but it's close.
No, I'm looking up who the third person was.
I'm totally blanking.
Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, thank you, God. Yeah, I'm like, who the hell else? And Montrezl was like another. He was like 10 million.
Yeah.
So that tracks with the math. It's just one of those situations where I think it screwed both teams over. I think it would have been a good move for obviously the Lakers, and I think it would have been a good move for the Kings. I think that was decent value both ways.
Yeah.
Everybody's just now catching up in the chat and saying, Trez, thank you. Yes, I should know that because I just watched the Wizards play the other day, and I was like, this is a fun team, and Trez was a big part of that.
That team's been really good.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you've got 10 dudes who are all slotted in and know their roles. It's truly amazing what happens. Now, the top-end talent may not be there, but everything kind of lines up and makes sense, which is, half the battle. We spent a long time just kind of like dancing around. Not say dancing around, like the weirdness of this team, the Kangs. Mm-hmm. I have something in here. Where did it go? Here's the question: did I actually load it up? And I don't think I did. I forgot to put it in there. Anyways, let's just jump into Like It, Love It, Leave It, because I'm an idiot and I'm scrambling today. As I do this, I know I haven't really talked about it at all here other than to like lightly mention it. I've seen a couple people ask already. Yes, I got some bad news today. Yes, my hip is really bad. Yes, I will be having surgery in the beginning of the year. I will miss some time for the show. I'm just trying to figure out when and where that's going to happen. So I not only do I need to get my right hip replaced, I need to get my left hip replaced as well. So again, shout out Bo Jackson for the inspiration there. Hopefully I'll be running up walls and gunning guys out from 300 feet soon.
Well, and also just for the listeners' sake, like we talked about this before we went live, Danny is also the psycho that is trying to maybe do 2 weeks without missing any shows because, why would you need to take a week of rest on a bed when you could do a podcast with your hips in plaster while you're laying on your back?
So it'll be fun. But yeah, that's something that's coming. It's good to know that all of the rampant amount of pain that I've been through over the past couple years, I'm not just a giant pussy. And and in fact, that I have major, major, major problems.
Yeah.
I'll keep everybody up to date on what the schedule is going to be around that. And somebody says here, my mom had both hips done at Rebound pre-pandemic. Cool. That's exactly who will be doing mine. So shout out my wife for having wonderful, wonderful, wonderful health insurance. Mine is good. Hers working for the state is better.
That's mine. My wife works for a hospital. I have insurance. I just unenrolled from my insurance because substantially better. To go
Shout out wives with better health plans.
Oh man, God bless them. Sugar mamas in our lives.
Gotta love it. Speaking of love it like it leaves the night. Blazers versus Kangs. I didn't even call them the Kings. They're the Kangs.
They're the Kangs. The Kangs till they make the playoffs.
Yeah, it is what it is. What is your love it tonight, sir?
My love it is set the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like you brought this up yesterday, and I thought it was a good point. Their first quarters, they have had so many slow starting games. The games they win, the games they lose. What do they have in common? It's about how they start. You're going to Sacramento. You have really tough games following this. It's easy to look past this game and say, the Kings suck. They just fired their coach. They're in shambles. Who cares about this game? And we're in Sacramento. We're going to be in the Bay in a day, right? We're going to drive an hour and go to the Bay. Set the tone. This is a winnable game. I'm rooting for this mainly because I said they'd win 5 in a row, and this would be the 5th. But the Kings are one of those, if you let them hang around, eventually they give a damn and they can bite you. I mean, look what you did against them in game 1. Harrison Barnes, how many open looks did he get? De'Aaron Fox was out there kind of setting the tempo. Go out there, set the tone, assert yourselves. Don't put yourselves in a big hole on the road. It's the last thing you want. And by the way, we talked about their numbers, home and road splits. It's a night and day difference.
Terrifying.
This is going to even out a little bit. At home, they'll lose a couple games. On the
you
road,
hope.
They'll start turning this around. Right, you hope. This is where you start the hope. It's against garbage-ass teams that have already beaten you once. Go on the road, get some payback, and set the damn tone.
It's weird. You look at this matchup over the last 3 years. It's 7. The Blazers are 7-4 against the Kings, which is good. But the Kings have sucked.
I'm going to say, is that good? That's only 3 games above, and the Kings have been
and those games have been competitive. That's the thing, is these games, and that's why I keep kind of like bringing it up. Is like it's a little bit terrifying. Like when you look at it, like why the freaking Kings of all teams? And then you start looking at it, and you're like, oh, that's right. They have a bunch of guards that are really fast, and they get downhill, and they put this team on edge.
Yeah,
they will continue to do that tonight. So my love it tonight is keep the bleeping guards in front of you. Now, the Blazers made headway last night against the Denver Nuggets when they were able to kind of force some turnovers. You're going to be dealing with guys tonight who are significantly better on the ball. De'Aaron Fox is the fastest player in the league with the ball in his hands from end to end. It's not close. He's freakish.
It's not close?
No. He's terrifying. He's
interesting.
Terrifying. Get the hell back in transition and stay in front of your man.
Yeah.
That is my love it tonight. I would love to see this team stay in front of some. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see them stay in front of Halliburton, stay in front of Fox, stay in front of Mitchell. Also, the second part of this is if you stay in front of them, then you don't get killed by guys like Harrison Barnes again because you don't collapse your entire defense.
Right,
what is your like it tonight, Senor Sprague?
My like it is actually going to be the 2 guard of the team, who's actually a 1, but he's been forced to play the 2 his whole career. I'm going to go Christian James McCollum.
He always has something spicy for Sacramento because they guaranteed they promised they'd pick him, and then they didn't.
Yes. Look, this is pretty simple to me. They need CJ to continue to be what he's been. Like I know he had that struggle against Chicago, obviously going scoreless in that first half, but CJ McCollum he's too important to this team to not show up. And I my set the tone thing, like it kind of falls in line with that. We know Dame is starting to feel better. He's starting to feel like himself. We know Norm's going to bring it. We know Nas off the bench, right? CJ McCollum is always kind of the wild card for them. And the nights that he struggles, what do you find yourself in? You find yourself in holes. You find yourself in situations where you need other guys to do a little more than what they normally do. I'm looking at CJ tonight and saying, this is kind of your moment. This is your night. Go out there and help Damian Lillard the way that you did yesterday.
I like that. For me, my like it, I was going to go with Ant coming into the show. I had to kind of adjust that because this was a game I looked for Ant to kind of shine, and CJ's the other guy in that same vein who, again, bucket getters tend to shine against the Kings. I'm going to go the complete opposite way. I'm going to go with Yusuf Nurkic, who...
Oh, dear Lord. Are you sure you want to do that?
The 25, 5, and 5. Just, remember the 5x5 game?
We're bringing up the 5x5 game with a guy who's basically a different human being.
I'm just saying.
You're right.
The Kings have had some milestones for this team. That's what's been hilarious about it over the years. He's been good finishing, with the exception of last night. He went 2 of 6. He's been active on social media today and last night.
I do not follow him. I actually don't really follow a lot of players. So when people say that, I'm always like, well, what does that mean? How has he been active today?
He just put a sleeping emoji on the fact that he is the highest net rating on the team. I'm just chip on his shoulder, Yusuf Nurkic.
Oh, yeah, chip on the old shoulder. Nobody counted on Nurkic.
Again, whatever he needs to do to get motivated to play the way that he needs to play, I'm okay with it. Even if it is corny, even if it's stupid.
Yeah.
My like it tonight is go out there and play with a little bit of attitude, Big Nurk. Let's see what happens.
It sure would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Let's no big deal.
How do you do against Denver with no bigs?
I'm just 2 for 6.
2 for 6?
2 for 6.
Almost unplayable at one point? Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just casting the line out there, right?
When you play well and you send out something on social media, okay. When you don't put out anything and you don't play well.
Here's the thing. The Michael Jordan doc. My favorite line of the whole damn thing. Grab that cigar and, when you talk shit 0-0.
Yeah.
That's a different ball game.
Yeah,
I love that whole scene.
And he had a baseball bat in the basketball locker room. Like, what are you doing, Mike? But it's Mike.
And again, has the baseball bat and the cigar, and it's just talk shit down 0-0. Then we're going. And so again, 0-0, Nurk. Talk your shit. Now go out and bowl. What's your leave it tonight?
How about, leaving open shooters all night the way you did the first time they played?
Woof. That was the first sign of this is going to be a problem.
Harrison had what, 8 threes in that game?
Career high points and made threes.
I think we talked after that one of the 8, 6
were
of them
butt naked,
wide open. CJ talked about this in the post game on TNT. They have talked about this ad nauseum so far. The road home stuff defensively, it's borderline embarrassing how different they are at home versus what they are.
They're basically
on the
the
road.
best home team in the NBA and the worst road team in the NBA. The Rockets don't really count because they're basically a G League.
They're the
team.
Rockets, right? And they've hit the restart. Can you just not? Can you not do that? Can you guys please rotate? Can you please communicate? As Danny said, can you stay in front and not allow dribble penetration that's going to ease up and get an open kick in the corner or the wing? Defense, let's not leave. I'm going to leave the defense of leaving guys open, please. Can we contain? Can we stay with our guy? Is there really a player on this team that honestly they should be looking to double? I don't think that there is. So
you can say Fox if you want to kind of make somebody else create for them.
Sure. There's no doubt about that. But I largely would still please beat me, De'Aaron Fox. That's
turn them into shooters. That's what you want to do. So for me, my leave it tonight is leave the afterthought of this game. Do not look ahead to Thanksgiving on the road. Do not look ahead to the Golden State Warriors. Do not look ahead to the Utah Jazz. Take care of what is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one for me, because this team, they have shown that they have not only looking past opponents, they've looked past quarters, they have looked past very, very basic things. They can't do that. They are not good enough to do that. They have not earned that right.
Yeah.
So leave that nonsense behind. Go about business. Have a workmanlike effort. That's what I would like to see. Even if the shot's not falling, even if they're hitting ridiculous shots, go out there and take care of things the way that you're supposed to. Process over results. Last night against the Nuggets, I saw a lot of people saying, well, I saw a comment, somebody said something along the lines of, well, they held the Nuggets to 100 points or less. That's a good defensive showing. No, it's not. When a team shoots 48-47 on you, no, it's not. So have the better process. The results will come. And I heard Chauncey say something along the lines of, wins and losses, yeah, you want to get wins where you can get them. But if you lose a game, but you playing the right way with the right intensity and some things just didn't go your way, because most games are coin tosses between most teams in the NBA. That's a real thing. The data has borne that out over the existence of the NBA, with the exception of like the abnormalities of the Golden State Warriors. Like,
sure.
But most games are coin tosses. That's why you see point spreads that are under 5 every bleeping night. Like even tonight.
You don't get big spreads in the NBA, man. Like you don't get like the Titans, for example, were 10-point favorites over the Texans, outright loss. Like you don't see
that very often.
The big spread in the NBA is like 7.
Yes.
Which like, oh shit,
we saw against the Nuggets the other night, and
right,
it went that way. Now, I've got a new segment here for us, Brandon.
Okay.
It's the jacked up line of the night. Like that?
The jacked up line of the night. Okay, yeah. I like the headline. Where are we going with it?
Gambling.
Oh, okay. I love it. I love it.
So I'm going to pull up the local app. The numbers that I have here were earlier. My numbers are actually, I should say, the numbers that I actually took were better than the numbers that I have here. I took the Blazers and the 2. It was at 2.5. That is what I have here. It was a -115. Straight up, they were a -140. The over-under was 225. The current, I have the international. I don't want the.
I think it's 3.5, and then the line is 225.5.
It is. And the Blazers straight up are now -160, which is kind of weird with Ant being out. I wouldn't expect that line to have changed that much in Portland's favor. It's got a little bit weird. But yeah, I got the Blazers at 2, so I'll give you the difference.
I'll take the 3.5. I think they're going to kill the Kings tonight.
Right. Well, you did call 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I call 5, and then I also just when these two teams played to tip the season off, okay. But now we've gotten to game 18. This is game 19. They have gone in such different directions, right? Just in the Portland, it's not like Portland's the 1 seed or anything, but it's just you're seeing a team kind of finding some rhythm. You're finding some chemistry here in this little streak of yours, whereas you're seeing the Kings become the Kangs. And usually when that I turns into an
nature's
A,
running its course.
Nature's running its course. They're ready to be eaten. I think Portland just waxes them tonight. I'll also take the over of 225 because I think Portland's going to score 118 points. I think the Kings will get to about 108. I think they end up winning this game by 10. I'll take the over.
Yeah, that seems about fair. I actually took Portland and the points. I got it at 2. Got in nice and early. I was like, 2?
Yeah.
2?
Take that all day.
It's the first time I've taken the Blazers and the points this year. So.
The thing about Portland that we all know very well is
never take the points.
When they win, we get a lot of feel-good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they're finding themselves. Hey, this team. Hey, guys, I'm starting to believe. But when they lose a game like this, it's crickets. You gotta take care of business tonight, man. Like,
let me go ahead and tell everybody here real quick.
I won't give a damn about a 4-game winning streak.
If they lose this game tonight, by God, I will roast them.
And I will sit here and I will not say a word because I want to listen to what you have to say.
I will absolutely crush them.
Please do it.
They better go out there and take care of this team.
I'm gonna
It is the NBA and it's professionals and all this. And here's the thing: I said last night I would not be surprised if they lost this game because they always do something stupid against this team. They always do.
They're gonna win this game, bro.
I
know.
I put money on it.
You have. I know. I'm not accusing you of saying they're going.
But
to
you know
lose.
what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
So
This team sucks, though. Please beat the team that sucks.
that's exactly what I'm going with. This is a team. If you fancy yourself, if you're sitting there, oh, we're just working through some things. If you can't work through some things and beat the bleeping Kings, you're just another team.
Yep.
You're just
You
another
really
team,
are.
man.
I can't believe that's their home loss. Like, they've won 9 in a row. And
When I told you that before we
went,
went live, I was like, remember, the Kings are the one team that beat this team at home. Remember, they beat their ass.
blew my mind because here's the thing.
And you're like, oh my God, that's right.
I completely blanked that game out of my memory. I hate the Kings. I hate watch the Kings. And so when you brought that up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Barnes went off 8 threes. Yeah. Oh God.
Joey Pushy says, what if it's a last-minute half-court shot and the Kings win? Shouldn't have been that close to begin with.
Joey, it should not come down to a half-court heave. That's what I'll say. That's the equivalent of Duke almost losing to Butler at a half-court shot. You're freaking Duke.
This game should be Houston, Oregon. That's what it should look like tonight. For all you Duck fans in there. Put that in your
you have Duck fans like hanging out with us here. And you just have to like...
Oh, you kidding me? That knife is never getting pulled out. I'm just going to twist it every time. Never pull it all the way in. Never pull it all the way out. Just twist it.
Just for this week, you're right. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs. I know.
FTD.
Yeah, here's the thing. If Oregon State wins the Platte,
it's going to be the worst 2-week stretch for men's sports in
Duck history.
I mean, Utah and Oregon State, and then basketball got waxed by 40 by BYU. And then they've lost back-to-back games.
And they lost to St. Mary's.
St. Mary's killed them, and then Houston just bludgeoned them.
That's a rough.
But I've seen this before. Dana Altman teams, don't worry. They'll come back. They'll win the conference. Yeah. They'll be in the tournament. They'll get to the Sweet 16. It happens every year.
Yeah, they're a weird Duck. Thanks, Dan. It's been a week for us Duck fans.
It's Dana Altman stuff.
Yeah, it is. Listen, guys, I think I've made it clear by now. I'm gonna bash the Ducks. That's just how it's gonna go. It's never gonna change.
Take it as a compliment, Duck fan. That's what I would do.
Here's the other thing, and I'm never gonna be the guy who, like, if the Ducks are doing well and USC does good, where I'm gonna be like, no, I root for the conference. Screw every other team in the conference. I don't care.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, I am actively rooting for the Beavers this weekend. So
we appreciate that support. Hop on the train. Let's go. We're going down to Eugene.
Just like I am actively rooting for the Blazers tonight, as I do every single night. You guys can find us anywhere you find your podcasts. Jack Ramsays. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. Share it. Listen, I'm telling you, I will Venmo $20 to the first person who does like a plug at the Thanksgiving dinner table of Jack Ramsays. I will absolutely do it. Get video of it. I will.
You're gonna pay $20 for somebody to sit at a table and go, "Hey, I listened to the Jack Ramsays podcast."
No, it's got to be a full plug. You got to really sell it.
Okay.
You sell it, I will make it happen. I promise. Just send me the Venmo, send me the Cash App. I'll do it. Like, rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. And we will catch you guys for the post-game show. Hopefully it will be a Blazers win, and hopefully my wallet will be a little bit bigger. I bet a little. Oh, speaking of the Ducks, hey, here's an update. For the Kings, Louis King is available. Duck legend. G League.
Louis King? Yeah. Guy who should have never left.
Yeah, he should have stayed all 4 years, 100%.
Or at least 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like Louis King was...
all 4 years.
Yeah.
We will catch you guys in the post-game. Thank you all so very much. We'll catch you then. Take care.